Okay, so hey guys, welcome back. In this part we're going to go ahead and tackle this top half of the case, which is actually probably the hardest the hardest piece in this whole model, and that's the reason why we left this last, because what I want you guys to do is, hopefully by now you picked up quite a lot of skills and you know roughly the workflow of modeling. So I want you guys to do is actually pause the tutorial if you feel like it, that you're up for it, and what I want you guys to do is actually give this piece a go by yourself and see how you would go and model something like this. So there are loads of other reference images of this panel, so I advise you guys to go ahead and have a look at those and make sure you get plenty of references of this panel, and then go ahead and try to model this on your own. So make sure that you have these holes cut in properly, so later on we can go ahead and put this USB in there and have these two holes cut in as well, and these two holes and this main hole on the top. Now when you go ahead and have a look at references, you'll see that this panel is sort of at an angle and so on, so make sure you go ahead and have a look at references and go ahead and tackle them. Now if you do go ahead and manage to model this on your own, I would be really happy if you could go ahead and post a picture with wireframe on. So select your mesh, turn on your wireframe like so in Smooth Mesh Preview, and go ahead and take a print screen and send it as a comment to this video, because I love to see how you guys go ahead and model this on your own with your topology. Now if you don't go ahead and attempt this on your own, which you really should, because honestly the most you learn is by experimenting by yourself and not watching tutorials. Watching tutorials is a really good way of getting an overview of workflow when you're a complete beginner and so on, but most of the time you guys are going to have to go ahead and figure stuff out on your own and experiment, and it will take time, but you'll go ahead and get into it. So if you didn't manage to model the top half of this case, or you just don't want to have a go at it, and I can't stress enough that you should really go ahead and have a go, and if you can't manage to do it, even though you had a go, still go ahead and post a picture of your topology so I can see how you try to tackle this piece. Okay, so make sure you go ahead and try to give this piece a go. So let's go ahead and get started with this piece, and the way I've done it, there are probably millions of different ways of creating this with different types of topology, and that's the reason why I've been stressing that you should go and have a go at this on your own, because if you do manage to model it, I love to see the topology you create on how you manage to do it. So let's go ahead and get started with the workflow that I use. I basically unsmooth this mesh, and I'm going to go ahead and break off a part of this to use as a base to make sure that our panel lines up perfectly. So let's go ahead and start with that. So I'm going to go ahead and select this top ring, okay, like so, and now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this off, and I'm actually quite excited to see what you guys come up with. So I'm really hoping that you guys will go ahead and submit some screenshots of how you tackle this piece. It would be very interesting to see. So I select that loop and then go to Edit Mesh and Duplicate Face, if I manage to find it. I just used this tool not that long ago. There we go. I've been modeling for years and I still can't manage to get my head around it. Anyway, so once you select this, I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit, Delete All by Type History, and also hit Shift P to bring it out from our group. And I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm actually not going to go ahead and rename this. So once this is still selected, well, it's not actually selected anymore. And now I'm not going to be able to select this. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go back into my outliner and find it. There we go. No, not that one. Maybe one of these guys. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to hit Shift B just to bring it out of that group. And go back into my outline as I lost it again. Okay, there we go. And violet is, why the hell did that just unselect? Okay, this is really annoying. Let's just go back into my outline and leave this on the side. Okay, so while this is still selected, go to Modify Center Pivot. And I'm going to go ahead and scale this down just a tiny bit. And that will go ahead and give us this break in the mesh. That will go ahead and give us that feel that these are separate meshes. Okay, so not too much, on a tiny bit like so. So once that's done, we're going to go ahead and start extruding this out. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this edge here. And also the edge on the other side, because that was just a supporting edge. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and select this loop again, like so. And we're going to go ahead and start extruding to go ahead and give us this top flat sort of piece. So let's go ahead and go to Edit Mesh, Extrude, and go down to my thickness and give it some thickness like so. And probably about minus 0.25 should do the trick. Okay, and I'm just doing this by eye because if you notice our reference don't actually line up, but that's not a problem. If you have plenty of references of the case, you can sort of do this by eye, as long as it fits inside our main sort of mesh. Okay, so once we have this, we basically need to now go ahead and create this inner panel. So we're going to have to go ahead and extrude this one more time. But before we go ahead and do that, I'm actually going to go ahead and delete the bottom half of this, so we're only left with a plane. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, go into my front view, isolate, press F to focus on. And as you can see, this is already bent because we extruded it off our piece that we already have. So then go into our face mode, and I'm going to go ahead and try to select only these bottom faces, which is a bit tricky because it's bent. But this is the reason why we went ahead and actually extruded or sort of broke off a piece of an existing piece that we already modeled. So it will go ahead and make our life a lot easier. We don't have to worry about lining these two meshes up. Okay, so I think we're nearly there. And breaking this down so it's only a plane will make our life a lot easier. And I think I just deleted more than I needed. There we go. So it will make our life a lot easier later on down the workflow. That's why we're doing this now. Okay, so unisolate, and I'm going to go ahead and select this edge loop, and we're going to go ahead and hit extrude again. Go to thickness. There we go. Give it some thickness. Well, actually, let's go ahead and give this an offset first. So I'm going to go ahead and offset this. And I'm not paying attention to the sides. I'm mainly paying attention to this bit here. Because if you notice, this is the thickest part. And this thins out, so we're going to have to go ahead and move some verts around there. So once I'm fairly happy with this, I'm then going to go ahead and move this down. And in this stage, we can sort of use our reference just to get an idea for the thickness. So our thickness goes from here to there. Okay, so we're pretty much, I think, judging by eye, this should be pretty good for what we need. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so once we have this, we're going to go ahead and move these verts so they're at the correct position. And if we have a look at our reference, it starts thinning out on the side, so it starts from that vert here. So I'm going to select them two and use my scale tool to go ahead and push these a little bit. Select them two, push those a bit more, and then these two are actually really thin. So it goes probably all the way to there. Okay, so once we have that, you will also notice if you have your own references that these are actually further up. So I'm going to go ahead and again select the verts that I want. And I'm going to push these up because these are actually nearly level with this top half. Once I have that, I'm going to select that axis, hold down V to go ahead and snap it to where I need it. So these are perfectly lined up. Okay, and now I'm going to select the next two, move those up, not as much as we did before, to go ahead and create this curve. And I think these are actually moved as well, but only a little bit. Or is it? No, these are actually as low as all of these. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Maybe move this vertex down just a bit more, so we get this sort of nice curve like that. Okay, so that looks really good. Now all we need to do is fill in this hole to give us our bottom panel. Now when you go ahead and do this, you sort of want to think about your topology, so how you're going to go ahead and divide this up or extrude these guys. And the way I'm going to go ahead and do it is I'm going to select all of those. So there are probably two ways you can go ahead and do this. You could extrude these down and then cut these across, or you can extrude this way. Okay, and that will leave lines here for your topology, but I'm gonna actually go ahead and I think the best way for us, even though I've done this once already, I'm gonna go ahead and extrude these ones to go ahead and give us this sort of topology. Okay, so once we have that, I'm gonna go ahead and straighten these out, select that axis, snap it, and then select that axis again and try to go ahead and snap this up, or even just, well, we should really snap it here. There we go. Okay, so once you have this, all we need to do is cut this across and merge these vertices. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go to edit mesh, insert edge loop, and add an edge loop here. So we can go ahead and cut that across or merge the vertices. And now let's go ahead and go to edit mesh again, merge vertex tool, and start merging these together. Okay, so that looks really good. So the next thing what I'm going to go ahead and do before we go ahead and do anything else is I'm actually going to go ahead and spread these out just so you get a nicer topology to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my top view. And I think these guys are not lining up perfectly, so I'm going to go ahead and select all of these verts and scale to make sure that they are straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and select that axis and snap it so it's exactly at the right place. Okay, to make sure that these panels will line up. Okay, so let's go ahead and spread these vertices out. So I'm going to select on both sides and scale them out. And hopefully, okay, that looks pretty good. And then select these two, scale those out. You don't really have to do this, but I think it will actually help us when we go ahead and make the cuts. So let me go ahead and scale these out as well, and that middle one can stay where it is. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and smooth this. Okay, so that looks quite nice. I'm quite happy with that. So next, what we need to go ahead and do after we basically have our main shape, as you see, I haven't added in any supporting edges yet. We need to go ahead and cut these holes in. So what I'm going to go ahead and do first is I think we'll go ahead and cut in this main hole. And then we'll go ahead and use a sort of different technique to go ahead and cut these smaller details in. So let's go ahead and try to attack the main cut. So what we need to go ahead and do is, as you learned from before, hopefully, you need to basically make a quad. So we can go ahead and make a cut there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, this edge is sort of in the way, even though it's nearly in the center, and I'm not worrying about our main reference too much, as it's not lining up with our mesh perfectly. So I'm just using our actual topology as a guideline. So I know for a fact that this main cut is actually in the center of this mesh. So what we can go ahead and do is, we could go ahead and straighten this and move it, but you need to be very careful with this vertex here, because that sort of decides how high this is. So if you do move these, we don't really want to move those guys too much over there. So I'm just going to select all these inner ones and move them out. And again, these guys will also, as you can see, will change the way our mesh bends, okay, because these guys decide how high that point in the mesh is. So we need to be very careful with what we do with these guys. We could use the slide edge tool. And now looking at the mesh, this edge is pretty much nearly in the center, but not quite. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is select this and then go to edit mesh, slide edge tool. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and use the middle mouse button to go ahead and slide this exactly in the center of our mesh, or pretty much in the center. And I can now go ahead and use this as a guide to where to cut my hole. So once we have that, we can go ahead and I'll just turn on X-ray again, go into my top view, just to get an idea of how big this hole needs to be. So once I have a rough idea, okay, so we need to have a big hole in here, in the center of here. Now we need some space here to go ahead and cut these in. And then we'll need quite a lot of space here to cut these 4 USB ports in as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is add some more edge loops to go ahead and roughly block out the space where I'm going to go ahead and make these cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and add one here. And I'm going to go ahead and add one up here. Now what you will notice is, now we can go ahead and make a quad here to go ahead and create our hole. Okay, and that would look pretty good actually. But you'll notice that this doesn't perfectly line up. So these verts here, but that shouldn't be an issue. So we should be able to just go ahead and delete this. Okay. Now you'll also notice that the way we cut our holes, we line this edge loop up, so we can go ahead and merge the vertex up there, and we can merge the vertex up here as well. So let's go ahead and just quickly go ahead and make our hole for that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a cylinder like we do normally. Delete all the, well actually before we delete, let's go ahead and turn down the inputs. So I'm going to go to subdivision axis and turn it down to 8. Okay, and actually probably, let me think about this. Yeah, 8 should do. That should be fairly smooth. So once we have that, I'm going to delete all the bottom faces, go into our top view, press F to frame in, and then go to our vertex mode, select them to snap this up, and then snap these to the side to go ahead and create us the outline that we need. Okay, while I'm also here, I'm going to go ahead and select this, scale it up, maybe a bit less, and also go ahead and extrude this to give us the supporting edge. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I might also go ahead and actually, while we're here, extrude it down to give us that supporting edge, and then extrude it down again just to give us the depth where our guy is going to go. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and move this where I need it. So I'm just holding down V and snapping it up there. Go into my top view. Okay, move it roughly in the right place. And the main points that I'm worried about is these two, because these are going to move anyway. So you're going to merge these up there, there, there. So they should be pretty good. Okay, so you might have to go ahead and slide these edges again just a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to select that one, go to Edit Mesh, and select the Slide Edge tool. I'll just go ahead and slightly try to move this, and it doesn't really want to do it for me. Let's try to slow down our slider. And it's still snapping, so I'll just leave it where that is for now. Now once we have that, I'm going to go ahead and move this down, and we're going to have to go ahead and snap these points where they need to be. Okay. So the main thing that we need to worry about here is that this is at an angle. So basically it looks something like this. So we need to make sure that we try to manage that angle as much as possible to go ahead and create a smooth looking hole here. Okay. So I'm running low on time, so I think we'll go ahead and continue with this in the next part. So I'll see you guys then.